Afternoon to all. Welcome to the second session for the day 2 FDP on academic writing. Today we have with us Dr. Rajasekharan Pillai K, Professor, Manipal Institute of Management from Mahe, Manipal. He is having more than 30 years of experience in research and academics. He received a post-graduation in MA in Economics, MPhil in Economics, also MBA degree. He is also a doctorate holder in Economics. He worked in various capacities as a professor, as a lecturer, and also as an economist. He worked as an economist for Periyar Foundation, Kerala, Kerala Forest Department, World Bank funded project. He also authored a book on economics, 8 chapters in edited volumes. He published more than 70 plus articles in international and national journals. He also presented 50 plus conference presentations. Dr. Pillai also the resource person for research methodologies, workshops and trainings. So he has done more than 50 plus trainings in research methodologies. He's also designed and delivered more than 45 short videos on business research methods. He's a reviewer for international journals. He received 6 Best Paper Awards. He's also contributed to the industry. Within the industry collaboration, he taken the role of principal investigator in 4 funded projects, taken the role of co-investigator in 3 projects, and also technical and working papers. So thank you, sir, for being with us today. So we are eagerly waiting for you to your session on literature review. Over to you, sir. So you can share your screen.
Thank you, sir, for the nice introduction. Let me share the screen. So is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That maximize it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. So thank you for the invitation to be part of this FDP and the nice introduction that was delivered now. So a review of literature is the first and the last step in research. So we begin the research with the review of literature. And at the same time, we announce the culmination of research with the literature review, that it will continue till the end. So this is the flow of the discussion today. We will start with an introduction, and rather than telling what is a literature review, we will discuss what is not a literature review and the purpose of literature reviews, the critical concerns that researchers confront with when they start thinking of a review of literature. Then around 6 categories of the reviews identified by Coopers. And when we read an article, what we will consider to be taken for the review of literature and steps to conduct it. We will present literature map as well that rarely people use. And what are the common mistakes that we do in the process of review of literature, and a quick quality check as well. So literature review in one word is both analysis and synthesis. In fact, that itself a contradiction, since analysis and synthesis are opposite words. So that will take some time to digest it, what exactly this one. Since in analysis, we make a detailed view, we break them into pieces, a particular article or a textbook that we are reading. And in synthesis, we do the opposite, the reverse, we put them back. So we humorously say that copying from one document is plagiarism and copying from multiple documents is research. So this itself indicates that the first process in literature review is analyzing what is available, what scrutiny of what is available in the existing literature. The literature we say here, its operational definition or operational meaning is that the past published work in any academic or knowledge area, knowledge domain, past academic work. And one side it is an analysis, and on the other side it's a synthesis. It is an analysis since we extract relevant information from the various parts of an article or a scholarly work, and we organize or we note down in a structured way. And once all analysis is done like that, we organize them, we put them back, we synthesize it, we organize them back in a structured way. That's why it is breaking down and at the same time putting them back. Analysis and synthesis of information from a number of sources. So one of the purposes of doing literature review is to identify the possible gaps in the literature. The gap is nothing but what's the difference between the desirable and actual level of knowledge. So then second reason is we are looking for a scope for future research. So when we read the articles, we take a critical stance. It's a critical review. Having said that, it's a critical process, critical review process, rather than simply a summarization. Literature review is not at all a summarization. It's a critical review. So when we say that critical review, we take a skeptical stance for everything we read. So we ask them questions to what we read, how it appears to be, why it is said so, why it is not said another way, why the researcher used a particular method, why not another one. This type of lot of questions we ask to the document that we read. That's the implication of the taking critical stance. So the researcher should have one of the outstanding qualities of a researcher is the critical mind. That is asking questions for everything. And this process, the existing knowledge, that is the literature review, it can provide us a best tool for research design. So it will guide us how we can address the problem at our hand. If we don't have how to do it, literature review process will give us sufficient insight regarding how the problem can be addressed. That we come to know how the problem has been addressed by the previous researchers. They will report in their report. in their research, in their manuscript, and that will give us some pointers. That is how we can do it. That's why we call it literature review as a tool of research design. So when we go through critically the review process, it can establish or it can provide an argument to answer to our own study questions. So that's why the many different definitions regarding literature review. So the one definition given by this set of authors, I found it very relevant. It's a written document that presents logically argued case founded in a comprehensive understanding of the current state of knowledge about the topic. So it means that when the researcher presents his literature review, it is deduced that. So he has a comprehensive understanding of the current state of knowledge. And this existing state of knowledge, domain knowledge, is presented very logically argued cases. So without any argument, if we present our literature review, that is not a literature review. It's simply a summary. Summary of existing literature is not review of literature. We need to present, the researcher need to present a logically argued case. So this is about the introduction. Then what is not a literature review? The 3 points that's very important, or that usually we see in PhD works and publications. These templates we happen to see. Summary of research of several authors. So an author-based review. They will present paragraph after paragraphs in alphabetical order, lexicographical ordering, in lexicon style, what a particular author, what X has presented, what Y has presented, and so on and so forth. They will present it. In fact, this is not a literature review. Another one is a chronological presentation or year-wise documentation of prior research. That means wherein the researchers put it paragraph after paragraph. They will arrange sequentially in ascending or descending order. Chronologically, they will present the findings from the previous study. That is also not a review. Sometimes they put it in, they don't separate with the paragraphs. So when one paragraph, 3 or 4 summary would be included. So a typical template that I have come across is this one. So this is an example of that, what just I mentioned. This is a chronological presentation since the oldest document came first. So what exactly the content of a particular article that they have, that the scholar has written. In fact, this is one of the chapters of a PhD thesis. So this way it has been presented. So you can see here, this is the document, that is this chronological presentation. So as it progresses in an ascending order. So this is this we cannot present. So here I don't get an evidence of synthesis. So that is important. That is missing. The synthesis is missing. So here each and every document that the researcher has gone through has been presented. It's a summary has been presented as isolated paragraphs. So this isolated presentation cannot be considered as a review since there is no review at all. So this the researcher might have obtained from either from the abstract or from the conclusion. So that is why it is not a review. So it doesn't give an insight that the researcher has gone through the document in detail, and the researcher hasn't compared or otherwise linked one document with another one, the similar one. And another thing the researcher hasn't mentioned here, so how this particular review is helping in my research, all these things are missed, then only we can say that the researcher has taken a critical stance in everything that the researcher has read. Then Then summarizing the prior research or simply paraphrasing. Simple paraphrasing is also not a critical, not a review. So I have 3 examples over here. So then you can evaluate yourself which one would be better or which one will be more convincing than the other one. So this is the literature review part. So it starts from here. This we call it, the researcher has grouped the works, since the first title is theoretical and empirical models. That means the researcher has grouped it. We can just have a glance. A preliminary cursory glance, we get an implication that, or impression that the researcher has synthesized it. But when we read it in detail, we'll come to know that there is no synthesis at all, even though in a particular paragraph comprises of the articles written by many, since each sentence stands separately. There is no progressive connection among the sentences, or in the paragraph is not, the various sentences in the paragraphs are not well linked. The same thing in the next paragraphs as well. Okay, this is the next one. So where the works of particular theme have been put together, but there is no connection among the various works that fall under one category. So that's the problem here. May I ask whether the participants can see the extended window? Can someone confirm it? The hyperlinks, is the hyperlink visible?
No, sir.
Oh, someone mentioned a yes. Okay. Hyperlink is not visible. A PDF document.
No, sir. I think you might have shared for maybe one person.
Okay.
Shared for everyone, sir.
And previously also I displayed one document.
Okay.
Okay, one second. Let me check it.
Oh, that is a.
Okay.
PDF is visible, sir. Paper is visible.
Oh, paper is visible. Oh, okay, okay. Yes. That was used as a hyperlink to validate my comments. Okay. So the next one. This is another document. Here it starts the economic review. Here the study gives an indication it is synthesis, since the various documents that discuss the same thing have been brought together here. So this we call putting it together. We separate the information by analyzing it, and when we organize it, we put them back. So here it gives an indication of synthesis, analysis and synthesis, but it is not logically or coherently organized. Since what we miss is here is the researcher has forgotten how this work helps the current research. So that's why it is not coherently presented, even though some connection is given over there. So this is the second one. So the third one, here it starts. Since the literature review topic, researcher at the background gave a detailed explanation regarding the process that the researcher followed in doing the literature review. That is very important. So how the literature review has been done, that is how the researcher has identified the papers. So that's why the researcher has given this much detail to that. Here, how the papers have been identified, that is search strategy has been given. Then from here onwards, the thematical analysis starts. So first it's a definition. Then he mentioned what other researchers have explored, factors influencing that research. It starts like that one. We can see the synthesis. This we call synthesis and presenting in a logical way. So this knowledge gap hinders ensured from, that means the researcher has connected it to the current research. So everywhere you can see that one. Finally, the foreign studies, then the national studies, the Indian studies, the country specific studies. So which are all the country specific studies also. Then the researcher, despite extensive search on the literature on awareness, there is a dearth in the studies of the particular topic that the researcher has mentioned. Then finally, the researcher has mentioned the present study will bridge this gap by investigating so and so. So that means the literature review must be connected. What we have reviewed, what we have identified in the previous literature, that must be coherently presented. We have to analyze in detail and must present in a coherent manner, putting them or organizing them based on certain common characteristics. In fact, this we call synthesis. All the studies that speak this must be together. So this is an example of a synthesis. That's why a literature review must be presented in such a way. It must give an indication that, or implication that, it is organized based on the major themes or groups. There should be some clusters. That cluster may be theoretically or organized, or it can be organized the population basis. That means the subjects cases, or otherwise it can be arranged methodologically. So we can decide which type of format we need to follow. Anyway, it must be an organization of certain works that must stand together. Then the purpose of literature review, we have a literature review help us, or it help us many things to streamline our research. The first and foremost one is it will set a boundary to the research problem. So what we need to search, what we need to study would be specifically mentioned by the literature review. That's why the delimiting the research problem, it sets a boundary. So once we set the boundary, we can explore and we can elaborately work on that. If we don't set the boundary to our research, so why I said setting the boundary, so a research starts from what is not known rather than what is known. Since we are trying to answer to what is not known, that we call research gap. But there may be many things that is unknown or yet to be known. But are we trying to address all these things? We need not. We need not address all these things. So that's why we need to decide what are the things that are not known we need to address. Since the fundamental aspects with respect to research is take a small problem and go deep into it and make it relevant to a broader public or broader subjects or broader population. That we call a very good robust research. Or otherwise, going far and wide and collecting bits and pieces, putting them together without any coherence, that is not a research. So that's a first we need to have a boundary. So that literature will help us to delimit our research problem. Second one, synthesizing and gaining new perspective. Since we usually advise our research scholars to read specifically in the early time of their research, read specifically as far as possible or as many as possible the literature reviews, systematic reviews or meta-analysis if available, any review studies. So they must reach maximum number of review studies in this area before, even though they have decided a particular topic. So from that particular topic, they need to find a title. So then based on that title, they have to develop research objectives, questions, and everything. And these research questions and objectives, everything must lead them or must take them to where what is not already covered. So that's why second thing, it's synthesizing and gaining new perspective. We get a new perspective on that one, what is not done. Then next one is seeking new lines of inquiry. That is, it will help us, it facilitates or it supports us to find out what knowledge gap persists. So when we will get future research directions, research gaps from the existing literature as well. Then it will help us discovering important variables relevant to the topic. So for example, we may have a particular topic on that one, and which are all the relevant and how it should be connected with other variables. That we will come to know by reading the previous literature. For example, the variable relationship among dependent variable, independent variable, mediating variable, moderating variable, confounding variable, and control variable. All these variables, how various studies might have connected in a different way. For example, some studies may identify X is an independent variable, another study Y is an independent variable, then M is a moderating, someone say M is not a moderating, it's a mediating variable. So that's why we will get an overall view of picture of how the particular variables have been treated by various researchers. So then we can decide which relationship we want to take it ahead. That's why it helps us discovering the important variables relevant to the topic. Then establish the context of the topic or problem. That is where the context is, where the problem takes place. So which context we have to take, which area need more attention from the researchers. That is where the problem is so crucial. Why this is important? Since a research need not be undertaken if the problem is obviating, or if you have an explicit answer. We need to conduct any research. Research is required when we don't have an obviating answer or explicit answer to any research questions. So that is why this is very important. That is, which geography studies, for example, um, entrepreneurial attitude. A particular researcher is planning to conduct entrepreneurial attitude. So entrepreneurial attitude, if it has extensively studied in developed countries, then it need not be studied again. For example, another one, lower income countries, they have been conducted, but they haven't explored all the things that they have used for developed context. Then you can set your context in the lower income countries. So then region specific also you can conduct, region specific also you can conduct. That's why literature will help us, which are all the contexts the study has already been done, and which are all the context it has been thinly addressed. So then you can, we will get to know that how this context has been established. Then understanding the structure of the subject, that is, what are all the areas this have been covered and where it has lost its attention. So where need to focus it. Next one is identifying the relation between ideas and practices. So wherein which are all the areas connected to the disciplinary aspect, other disciplines, possibilities, all these things we can come to know through the literature review. Then ideas and theories. So major theories which have been used by the previous researchers also. When we go through the literature review, we'll come to know that why a particular, for example, the theory of planned behavior. The theory of planned behavior from the social psychology. This has been extensively used in many areas, multidisciplinary, across discipline they have been used. Then the researcher may have a curiosity that why a particular theory has been extensively used in other areas, why not other theories have been used. So these things the researcher can then gaining a methodological insights. So this shows that how the previous researchers have addressed these issues, and which issues, which methodology has been widely cited by other researchers. So like that, it will get more insight, the methodological issues. Then a good literature review can save our time by avoiding the fruitless exercises. So if the literature review will be done in a specific manner or comprehensively, definitely it will save some time. That is, we need not conduct any unwanted search. So placing research in a historical context show the familiarity with state-of-the-art developments. For example, we can present even the thematical also. We can present the review in a historical manner over the years. How the topic has been progressing. See, we have a technique called bibliometric analysis. This bibliometric analysis can provide us a historical overview of how this topic has been growing or developing over the years. So that will also help us in another one, identifying the recommendations for future research. So it will help us from the previous researchers what is left to be done. So they will suggest, so which are all the areas we can do the research. Then next, we will see the concerns of researchers. In fact, these are the burning questions that researchers may ask when they are exposed to literature, when they are exposed to research and asked to do the literature review. These are the burning questions that may confront them. So here, the first question is where to look. So from where should I get maximum information? Where to look? So the answer is we can previously, in the past, people used to resort to libraries, and librarian were their star performer over there. So now it's search engines. So whatever you require to search, So he can have a search engines now. So the most widely used search engine, it's a open source as well. So Google Scholar is the most widely one. So where we can search the previous research, it's already available. Next, how to look. So how to look is very important. That is, we need to search by keywords, or we can search by keywords means the specific or the crucial or the most important, the core word, or the most important word in our title or our topic, that we call the keywords. So the search by keywords. Then specifically, if we think that a particular researcher has extensively written on a particular topic, it would be better to read all the papers of that author. So that's why author based search also we can do it. Then works cited and cited by. So work cited, we call it backward search in literature review, and work cited by, we call it forward search. Since works cited means this we see the reference at the end of a research work. So works cited. So when we write a paper, when we publish a paper, so we use previously published articles, and whichever articles that we have used in the citation, that we will mention in the reference. These search, for example, when we read an article, if we are interested in certain sentences, or we find that, okay, this sentence may be relevant to my, or this idea may be relevant to my work, we will go into that work, download that. This is called a work cited. Though looking into the papers or searching the paper by work cited. Another one is cited by. Cited by means the citations that we received, um, over our paper. This is called works cited. So works cited, to show the works cited, I'd like to take you to see, for example, go to Google Scholar. When we go to Google Scholar, so I just yeah. I selected this paper and pasted here. I got this paper. Oh, this is a very latest paper, so citation is not there. So otherwise, I will go to one. Theory of planned behavior. Yeah. See, theory of planned behavior. So this is called a cited by. If we are interested in this paper, we came across this paper, and here cited by around 539 people. This is called a forward search. Forward search. Forward search means we are trying to access all the articles that have cited the paper at hand. This is called a forward search. Forward search, that is cited by. Works cited means it is backward search. That means we are accessing the papers, relevant papers that have been cited in the document, within the document. Then journal title also. For example, we know that if a particular researcher doing marketing, definitely journal of marketing must be reviewed by or accessed by the researcher, since the key papers or the core papers in the particular domain will be published in the specific vertical. So that's why journal title is also very important. So these are the methods to decide. how we have to look for our papers. Then what to look for. So what are the things we need to uh, look for? It can be articles, so books. So definitely we strongly recommend the research scholars to read encyclopedias relevant to their domain, since from encyclopedias they get their the definitions and implications of the key terminologies that they are using. So it would be better to access to that encyclopedias and uh, customize it for their operational definitions. Then the particular philosophies, then questions, the data generation techniques followed by the previous researchers. So these are all the supporting documents or supporting things that the researcher can access from the previous literature. Then how to read, that is another, that is we have accessed some papers. The next one is how to read. So then a researcher must, this would be very difficult in the early level researchers to have a critical thinking, but over the time the researcher can develop the skill critical thinking. So wherein after some time the researcher will become an expert, will become an expert in reading and evaluating or analyzing the previous document. In that case, the researcher need not read every sentence. Adept researchers need not, they won't read every sentence, since they know that where the sentence lies that they are looking for, that they can easily they can easily understand. So that's how to read. Then what to read for, what are the things we need to read. So we need to read for the content of the, that means what is the content explained by them, then what methodology the previous researchers followed, and the most important thing, the communication form. If we mindfully read articles from very good journals, they follow a rigorous peer review process, so their language would be very much polished. So when we passionately read such articles, so by default our language is also tuned with that one. That's why communication form is very important. So these are the major problems that predicaments of researchers when they start working on literature review. So these are the answers to that one, how to address these concerns. That's why I gave in the brackets. So then next is, what are the different types of literature reviews? That means how you can organize your literature review. So there are Cooper has classified the literature review into 6 major groups. The first one, there are literature reviews that is organized based on the focus. The focus means they have organized the literature review based on the outcomes of the previous research. For example, all studies that discuss a particular outcome. For example, employee satisfaction, say. So all those studies that considered employee satisfaction as an outcome would be put together. So that's why you can organize in that manner, or otherwise it can be based on the research methods, the methodology, based on the methodology also, or otherwise we can organize the previous research based on the theories they have used. So who are all the researchers who use a particular theory? That way also we can organize the studies, or practices or applications. So which are all the fields a particular study outcome how been applied. So based on that also we can organize our study. Then next one is goal. So then what was the purpose of the researcher? So whether the researcher want to integrate, that means put them together based on the numbers, and how many how many from a particular country, and how many use the particular methodology, like that, the integration. So it's usually we call it integrative review. So integration we can do in that way also. Then whether the researchers goal is to give a critic of that one. So then the goal is that one. Then the identification of central ideas, that is to extract the core areas, the core ideas or the core issues that revolve around a particular topic. That is the goal. Then the perspective. Perspective means what stance that the researcher follows, whether the researcher takes a passive stance or that a neutral stance, a neutral representation, an impassionate reporting or statement of researchers, the research previous research work, or otherwise espousal of position, or also very vocal, very strong, very argumentative manner, or argumentative manner. So that's the perspective. Then another one is coverage. So the coverage means how far the researcher has gone into. So whether the researcher has covered the extensive work so far published, that means extensive, exhaustive with selective citations. So for example, a researcher can say that I downloaded around 7,000 or 8,000 works that comprise of the work so far done in the particular topic. So based on certain parameters, I shortlisted it, screened it, and finally I narrowed down to 40 or 50 papers. That means I started with an extensive search. So it narrowed down based on certain parameters with certain inclusion criteria, it narrowed down. So that's existing. Or otherwise representative, that means the study which are relevant for whether the researcher followed the study relevant for a particular geography or the study relevant, say for example, the researcher can do a review on the application of theory of planned behavior in medical decision making or other healthcare decision making, or otherwise the theory of planned behavior in entrepreneurial decision making, or otherwise theory of planned behavior in buying of say any type of commodities, or otherwise environmental protection, or otherwise a particular type of marketing. This a particular theory. This is called a representative one. Then or a central pivotal coverage, whether the researcher has taken only the very valid paper in a particular research domain, the paper that all the papers that have got this many citations, like that, or some research reviews are there. So I have taken only those papers which have received on an average minimum 100 citations, minimum 100 on an average. 100 citation means one work might receive 100 citation per year of publication. So that means that many citation must be there, that we call very pivotal central work. So in that case the research would be the coverage would be too narrow and at the same time very specific as well. So then next one is organization, how it has been organized, whether it has been historically presented. If it is historically presented, the researcher can present how over a span of time the topic has been projecting. That means we are presenting an entire trajectory of a particular topic, progressive growth. Then whether the organization is conceptual, that is the based on the conceptual. Usually the research scholars present conceptually their literature view, since that is more convincing, since we may have many constructs or concepts in the studies, and it would be better we organize like that. Or organization is methodological, you can arrange your studies methodologically. Then the last one, the sixth one, is the audience. So with in this one, the organization would be based on, that is whom you want to consider your audience is. So whether your audience is general and or specialized scholars. So in that case, our presentation and organization must be so coherent and rigorous as well, since it caters to the needs of your study. Your literature will cater to the needs of a certain specialized scholars and the practitioners or policymakers. Definitely you need not elaborate the topic, just present the crux of it since they don't have much time to spend. So we need to maximum, we have to maintain the parsimonious nature, or otherwise very brief. You have to present it very briefly. At the same time, should be presented in very abridged form. But at the same time, there must have something for policy implications as well. And for general public, if your presentation is for general public, we need not go into very rigorous manner, or we should avoid the jargons. The writing need not be that much technically superior. So it's, since the audience is a wider reach, so wherein it's a more impressive manner you have to present it. So this is all about the audience. So this is the taxonomy of the literature review by Coopers. So I have presented these references at the end. So and I will share these slides with the organizers as well, so you can go through this. Then what to consider when we read a material? When we read a material for literature review, what are things we need to consider? So I generally advise scholars to keep these questions in mind when they read an article. See, I usually give a structured template, Excel template, for the ready reckoner, so wherein they can capture information in Excel template. That will help them organize their study later. Then the question is, when you read the article, so we must know that who conducted the study, when, which area, the topic, the overall purpose. Is the concept really defined by them? Then what is happening in the background and context around this research? Then how relevant in the real world context or environment to make this research important or timely? Whether it is a new contribution or an addition, challenging or agreeing, or wish to defend. So this is called critical evaluation or critical review. So we need to ask the questions. We need to pose questions to all these things. It's a agreeing or wish to agree or wish to defend. Then is it a new point of view which they seek to propose? What the authors stands in this regard? A point of view which needs to be reformulated such that a new version or timely version makes a better explanation. Then how do they differ in their usage of these terms? That term means the keywords related to the study. Where do they agree? That means the multiple, or this will give a hint to the synthesis, where multiple authors agree and disagree, and where they converge, and how they can be converged, ideas can be converged, and major inference and conclusion. Then has anyone attempted to fit them into a model or framework? How will the reviewed item support the proposed study? This is also very important. That is, this we call it how the researcher is able to connect the reviews done with the current study. So I have a template to be shown to you. So here, this is one template. This is given to the scholars. You can see here. So every article they read, they have to extract information in this structured template. One row need to be set aside for one article. So authors with year of publication, title of the study, purpose, objective, focus, theories, models used in the study, methodology, study design, variables in the study, that is independent variable, dependent variable, mediating, moderating, control variable. Then the case or the context or unit of interest where the study happens, the location, that means geographical, the key findings of this one, then conclusion, inference and conclusion, and other details. So these many informations, around 12 types of informations we need to get from the previous studies. This will help. So once it is done, extracted, then you can organize and group them. If you want to organize based on the purpose of the study, you can organize them, since you will write the purpose here. If you want to organize theories based on the theories you are studying, you can do it here based on this. You can sort it. If you want to do in methodology basis, so you can do it here. So if you want to make it geography, so geographically, so you can do it here, so based on that. So the key findings that you can make it based on this one. So that's why once you extract the information in the structured way, it's easy to manage later. So that should be manageable for us. So this is about the detail about these 12 items. Then steps to conduct literature review. So how to do it, how to conduct, what are the steps to conduct literature review? So in fact, this is the this slide is the core focus of the today's topic, this session. So begin by identifying keywords. So that's the first step. So when we want to do research in a particular area, particular topic, so we have to start by identifying the keywords related to that one. The keywords we identify from various methods, like we can go to the literature, that's we can have a primary search in the literature, or otherwise we can ask the experts in that field. So generate maximum number of keywords. If we don't have a maximum number of keywords, we call it a keyword pool of keywords. This pool of keywords is nothing but the synonyms of the major or the core word in our topic, the synonyms. Since different researchers might have used different words. For example, if I do research on customer engagement, so customer involvement will also be there. So involvement can be used in terms of or as an alternative words to engagement. So then customer voice is also there. That also can be used sometimes. So like that, I have to search in the literature. I have to find it. That is the first step. With this keyword, search initially on journals, books related to the topic. Select a few articles or books. Then skim this initial group of articles or chapters. That is, we have to have a we call it the skimming through this one, or otherwise we just go through, we just to glance through the articles. Then selective reading of chosen articles and capture information in a structured way. That's the same thing I have shown earlier. Then as we identify useful literature, begin designing a literature map. Once we have completed the literature, complete extracted the information, we can present all this information in a pictorial format. So I have displayed here in the next slide. So this literature map is nothing but a visual presentation, visual picture. So wherein we group the literature topics and illustrate in a particular way how these fragmented literature, this disjoint and fragmented literature provide or lead to our study. Then draft summaries of the most relevant articles. So the literature review must include only those articles which are closely related to that one. For example, in our research, we may use 200 titles, 200 documents we may use. But all these 200 documents need not be used for literature review. We can use 25, 30, or 50 documents that are core, that are closely related to the topic. So after summarizing the literature, assemble the literature review, structuring it thematically or organizing it by important concepts. So this is the steps to conduct literature review. And here it is the literature map. You can see here, this is the topic of the researcher. This is the topic. So this is the topic of the researcher, and the researcher found out these many are the topic that have already done so far. These are the areas this study has been conducted, and some gaps are there. These are the gaps, even though this is there. Demographic, with respect to demographic, this is about financial planning of retirement, that is aging and longevity will not be, the population aging, that is not considered. All these research gaps lead to the current study. So this is called literature map. Another literature map is this one. This is another literature map. This is the topic, the factors underlying the price setting practices in hospitals. So that is a study, and which are all the areas covered and how this lead to the current research. In fact, this is an essential component in your protocol or other proposal, research proposal, to convince the evaluators that you have gone through the existing literature thoroughly. So this guidance, you will find it from the Creswell's book. I have mentioned at the end of this presentation, the reference section, I have mentioned this book I have taken. So Creswell and Creswell's research designs. So these are the common mistakes that we do in our literature review, the common mistakes in literature review. The common mistakes are does not clearly relate the findings of the literature review to the researcher's own study. This is a major thing that major mistake that the researchers do. They may present what is there in the previous studies, but it's very difficult to link those previous studies to your literature. That's what that's the same thing I displayed the third one. Just remember, the third researcher has mentioned that how these reviews are going to help my study, or how these studies condition my study. So like that, we have to mention, if it is not there, it's a mistake. Then does not take sufficient time to define the best descriptors and identify the best sources to use in review literature related to one's topic. So that is another one the researcher will not take. Some students complain that, some scholars complain that I don't find any literature, any relevant literature, since they don't have a time to spend for tweaking the keywords, or otherwise manipulating the keywords, or otherwise using different permutation combinations. See, for example, there is the searching is an art. It is not a scientific thing. It is not a science. Since we have Boolean operators like or, and but, not. These Boolean operators are there. So how we use it, ideally, if you use or, definitely we will get more number of literature. If you use and, we will get less number of literature. So how you connect your keywords with this? So usually, if they are synonyms, we connect them with or, since that will give us more documents to be used. So next mistake that the researchers do is uncritically accept another researcher's findings and interpretations as valid. So that means having no critical look into that. So this is another mistake, that one. So whatever the previous literature, that's why the previous questions are there. So here I have mentioned this. So the new contribution, addition, challenging, agreeing, wish to defend, all these are, we critically review it. This is another one. Uncritically accept anything, that researcher should never do, since the researcher should have a critical stand to everything, question everything. So then does not report search procedures. So that you have seen in the third document. The third document you have seen the search procedures have been clearly and detailedly presented. So otherwise, as a researcher, when I read your literature review, I have a doubt that how you did it. So when you follow, if you have followed something, or otherwise whatever steps you followed, report it. So otherwise you would be under the radar of suspicion. So that's another one. Then reports isolated statistical results rather than synthesizing. So then when they say that different researchers, they found this much satisfaction level or this much regression value, they presented individually. That's why I mentioned earlier, it's, if you include various studies under a particular paragraph without combining them, so each and everyone will remain as a disjoint sets. They won't stay together. They will stay as isolated thing. So, but we want to know that what would be the beauty when they are combined together. So that's why it's called synthesis. So these are the 5 common mistakes that researchers do with respect to literature review. Then, how to check it? So the rubrics for quality check of literature review. So how to check the good quality of a literature review? That's why when I read the review of literature, I evaluate this based on these 5 parameters. So the coverage means that whether all relevant papers or documents have been covered or not. See, for example, this happened to me as well. When I submitted papers, my reviewers have suggested that you have missed certain important articles related to this topic, and they have suggested the names as well. So like that also, we also do, since sometimes we might not have read that article or might not be knowing about that article, but the researcher who is very passionate, well versed in that area, they may be knowing. So it's a coverage, it's a comprehensive coverage of this thing. That is whether, that's why I mentioned earlier, when you search the search documents and search engines, we have to develop maximum number of keywords, and these keywords must be put together to extract maximum number of documents. Then another one, whether the presentation was a synthesis, whether they have been collated together in a logical manner. So based on certain say methodologically or theoretically or conceptually or geographically or subject or otherwise the subjects wise, that means samples population, relevant population. So like that, any type of some coherent set must be there, some uniformity must be there. Another one is methodology. So another one, the methodology is that whether you have followed a clear-cut methodology of literature review. So then people may be asking whether literature review has a methodology. Yes, literature review has a methodology. It should be followed procedurally without fail. Since that's why the steps we have identified how to conduct a literature review, that I have mentioned some points over there. First, develop a keywords. Can I get some information regarding that one? That is how you identified the keywords. How do you know that these keywords were relevant? Have you contacted someone, or have you checked with the preliminary literature? Then how you have extracted the paper? Then how you identified the paper, whether it can be selected or not? So all this should be reported in your document in the literature review as the preliminary page. Then next one is significance. Significance means how you linked your study to the literature that you have gone through. That means significance. What significance you find this study in your study, ongoing study? So how the past studies will support in the ongoing study. The next is the rhetoric. The rhetoric means the presentation quality. Whether you have presented very coherently, what is the quality of the communication? So have you presented in a clear, concise, and meaningful manner? All these are the 5 parameters to check it. So this is about the literature review. So I finished 20 minutes before to enable the participants to put any questions. So this is the references that you can make utilize. So now it's the question answer time. Now the participants can post questions. If you want to ask questions, you can put in the chat box as well. I will read and clarify. That's why I was rushing through, to enable you to ask many questions. Let me check any questions are there. Okay.
Participants can ask questions, unmute and you can speak, or you can put it in the chat box also.
Yes, sir. Let them put in the chat box otherwise, sir. No problem.
Department.
If they want any clarification on the previous slides also, they can tell me that kindly go to that slide and I will take them back. Okay, for a good literature review, how many years paper we have to go through? It's a very good question. If it is with respect to our research work, I mean our PhD work, definitely it would be better from the beginning onwards. That is when the seminal paper was published. From that onward, that may be 50 years, that may be 100 years. For example, in my PhD work, I completed it in 2005, and I cited a paper that was published in 1818, 1818. Okay, 1880. So I mentioned the paper. Since I got it from an electronic repository, I found that paper was closely matching the one. So that means more than 100 years. So there is no hard and fast rule if it is related to our research work. If it is a publication, I mean systematic review or meta-analysis or anything else. So minimum 5 years, minimum 5 years must elapse the last review. Minimum 5 years, the last review. Otherwise, if it is not there, if in the last 5 years there is no review took place with respect to that, we can have a 10 up to 10 years. 10 years on one, we can say that decadal progress. Maximum systematic reviews, they have seen 15 to 60 years. 15 to 60 years published document. So this is the limitations with respect to the timing. For research work, PhD work, no such limitation is there. But literature review, it must be there. For example, systematic review, one of the conditions of systematic review is that if there is one systematic review published in our topic within the 3 years, we should not do it unless we find a serious problem in that. Okay, if we have to find a serious problem in the already published one, then try to fix it. Otherwise, at least 5 years must elapse for the new review. And another one, a review of a topic, it's a nascent, a new topic. For example, a terminology called aspirational consumption marketing that was introduced in 2016 by IIT Kharagpur researchers. So aspirational consumption, they have coined this terminology. So it's time now. I haven't seen any systematic review so far on that one. That means it's already latest one. And if we find that minimum number of publication is also there, minimum 50 or 60 publication is already done on that topic, it is right time to do a literature review. So these are the conditions of doing, how to identify is it time to do a literature review and how many years of document we have to consider. I hope I answered the question. Then another question, while writing literature review for thesis, is there any recommended number of research papers should be? No, there is no hard and fast rule regarding how many recommended papers we need to do. The only condition is that whether the papers that we have reviewed are close to or closely matching or are core to your topic. That is the only thing. Then a good literature may have many years. Then next is how many articles we have to include in the literature review. Is there any guideline number of? Okay, see, in the literature review, is it that's why I mentioned now in for PhD work, systematic review also. There are systematic reviews that were published with 11 papers, and there are systematic review, especially in management science. There are systematic reviews that were published more than 1,500, 1,400 papers as well. So there is no hard and fast rule regarding how many number of papers, but I always advise research scholars maintain a minimum, a threshold band between 30 to 50 articles, 30 to 50 articles. And that 30 to 50 articles, the most important thing, you have to mention the methodology, how you arrived at that 30 to 50 articles. That is very important to convince others that you have followed a very empirical procedures with respect to exclusion and inclusion criteria. So there is no hard and fast rule how many numbers required, especially in the research work, PhD work, and for a publication as well. Then another one, why the research journals for better literature review. Okay, see, if it is for, if this question, how to identify the research journals for better literature review, if it is for systematic review, management and allied subjects, we can find one journal, International Journal of Management Review. International Journal of Management Review. It's a 99 percentile journal. They publish only systematic reviews, meta-analysis with respect to management and related subjects. So you will find proper guidelines in that one. So we write systematic reviews based on their guidelines. Very good articles are published in that one. So this journal started its journey only 1999, but within 20 years span of time, around 15 years span of time, this journal became 99 percentile. That means one of the topmost journals, since they publish quality journals. And how to identify research for better literature review? I strongly advise research scholars to do a bibliometric analysis when we do your literature review as part of your PhD work. Since when you do bibliometric analysis, you will come to know, since the algorithm will provide you, if you select who are all the prominent authors, which are all the prominent journals in your area, and which are all the institutes or the organizational affiliation, which are all the countries where research is going on in this area, in this prominent area. All these informations you will come to know by extracting information using the bibliometric algorithm. So that will help you find out the authors, journals, keywords, all these things. So this will be very good help for the researchers. If you don't know how to, then feedback, okay, then sorry, is there a specific website, literature review repositories? Yeah, one paper repository is there. So Cochrane, you can say Cochrane research repository is there. I will type it here. Cochrane repository. Cochrane repository is there. Then one more is there. This is based in US. Donna Bugs. I'm not clear. Let me check it. It's an UK-based systematic review. Give me 1 minute. I could not trace it, but I will include it in the reference section. The repository, definitely I will include in the reference section before I share this document with the organizers. Then next is the second one. I'm not sure, it's a spelling mistake is there. Then yeah, yes, software tool is there. It is one is Biblioshiny. Then this is a R based one, and another one is, one second. Another one is WOS Viewer. These are the two, one systematic assessment. These are the two softwares. These are the two softwares. WOS Viewer is very user friendly. Do it to follow methodology while writing. Then is there any specific website? Okay. Is there any, do we have to follow methodology while writing literature for an article also? Only thesis is, yes, definitely. In literature review also there is a methodology. Since literature review consists of series of steps like the identification of keywords, then procuring the materials using that keywords, then deciding which paper need to be considered, that means selecting it, then picking the information, how to pick the information. So then how you organize this one. So major points are, first, the search, how you searched it. Second, how you retrieved it, how you retrieved the articles. Third one, how you shortlisted the articles. Then fourth one, how you analyzed and synthesized the articles. Fifth one, how you presented it. That means 5 steps are there in any literature review. Since the 5 steps are there, you have to detail in each steps what you did. Otherwise, the researcher won't have any credibility. Okay, do we need to follow methodology? Kindly do. Okay, then any software that I mentioned, Biblioshiny and WOS Viewer, is there any specific website? Kindly give a better clarity in this question. Is there any specific website? What exactly the questionnaire meant? For what? Whether it is for a website, whether it is for a software, bibliometric software, or it's any assistance regarding literature review. For assistance, yeah, assistance that that I mentioned one, Cochrane. Cochrane is the one, and another one, Jonabricks. Jonabricks, it's based in England, so they have a document. It's a 100 plus pages there in that document. In that document, they have given a clear guideline how to do various types of reviews. So that I will include in the reference section. So what I mentioned, previous research methodology, this is an example of literature reviews that bibliometric analysis that researcher conducted prior to, yeah, this is an example. Literature survey, search strategy. Yeah, this is the bibliometric map. Okay, this they have done prior to literature review. So this is one researcher. Another researcher is with respect to this one. This is another one. You can see review for literature, bibliometric analysis. Then this is the bibliometric analysis done. So I specifically insist my research scholars to do a bibliometric analysis prior to their literature review, since then they won't miss any specific authors, any specific institute, any specific journal, any specific keywords. So that is why it is required. Yeah. So any questions? Chat, feedback, list. Okay.
Yes, I think all the questions are covered.
Okay. Let me check, sir. Any are left out? No, all. Yes. I could cover all the questions so far.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. Shall we conclude, sir?
Yes, sir. If there is no other question, definitely, sir.
Yeah. Thank you for your wonderful talk. Very well organized slides we can see. You have given wonderful introduction. In particular, what is not a part of the literature review. The reports that you have shown with example, the live examples, really helpful for the research community, particularly the research scholars who is present today. Definitely, they will benefit from this. You have also mentioned about the purpose of the literature review, the critical questions or the concerns that we are supposed to ask while doing this, what to look, where to look, how to read, what to read. A very nice way of presentation, sir. You're also given the corpus taxonomy of the literature review, what to consider in the reading material, the steps to conduct the literature review, particularly uh, the one that you have mentioned about a literature map as well as the bibliographic map that you have shown. Uh, yeah, always the visual information presentation, always a nice way of presenting, definitely helpful for us in the future. So further, in conclusion, you have shown us the what are the common mistakes that we are doing while doing the literature review. Also, you have presented the rubrics for quality checks. So you have also answered all the questions from our audience. So thank you, sir, for your very well organized presentation. Definitely, all the research fraternity are helped with your presentation, sir. Thank you. So, behalf of the St. Joseph Engineering College and all the organizing committee, we uh, thank you for your wonderful presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity as well. And somebody, I think, Neetu has mentioned John Briggs. That's correct. So Neetu has posted over there, John Briggs. That's the correct usage. This organization, John Briggs organization. You will find this a very good website based in UK that provide comprehensive service, comprehensive support for literature review. So that's the right spelling, since I forgot the spelling. So it's there. So thank you very much, sir, for the opportunity. I thank the organizers for considering my presence. So I wish all the participants good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You can quit now. Tomorrow we shall join in the morning, 9:30.